You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Every day on the job there's a moment. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't, where everything hangs in the balance. A loose bolt, a missed clip, a bad assumption. Or maybe the opposite, a choice made right. The right PPE, the right lockout, the right conversation at just the right time. Some folks call that luck. Here on Safety Wars we call it something else. The kiss of safety, the quiet moment where a safe choice gives you another sunrise, another paycheck, another night with the people you love. And the truth, no policy, no regulation, no binder full of procedures means a thing unless you live it, unless your team lives it, unless safety isn't a chore, it's a culture, a war we fight every day, one small decision at a time.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And good evening. Welcome to Safety Wars for Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. How's everybody doing? This year just blew right by. At least in my opinion. Don't always have to agree with me. I don't always have to agree with you. That's the wonderful thing about this whole medium and being alive here. A lot of places out there, they're not that way. And we'll leave it at that. So, I don't know what to say. We went long yesterday. If you got the whole program, it's like an hour and 31 minutes long. I don't think that's going to happen tonight. But we'll see. You never know. I might get on a roll here. So, I don't know if I will be on the air Thursday or Friday. But I am going to try to be on Saturday. If anything, a best of program. We'll see where that goes. I got to start doing things a lot more. Change the way that I do things and everything. Now that I'm getting, how should I say it? Unburned out. Right? With things. It's been a rough 9 years, and I appreciate everybody is bearing with us here. Anyway, all different kinds of news just came across updated at the updated here. All right, so I promised US EPA news today, and we're just going to go right into it here. So in case you're not familiar, we try to concentrate on government press releases, whether it's state, local, municipal, because there's no copyright on them. If there's no copyright on them, we could share them. They're owned by the public, except in a couple of situations. So, for example, trademarks, you're not allowed to use, let's say, the EPA trademark or Department of Labor trademark or anything like that without written permission, and try to get written permission from them. You're going to have a problem there. So we have EPA did not release have one thing today. So let's do a share screen, and here we go. Right, EPA takes action against grocery store chains for distribution of illegal disinfectants to Arizona, California, and Nevada. Let's see what that's about. Today, the U.S., and that is yesterday this was, the U.S. EPA is announcing a settlement with Chedora USA Incorporated, doing business as El Super, and Smart and Final Stores, LLC, for violating federal pesticide law by distributing illegal disinfectants in their stores in Arizona, California, and Nevada. Under the settlement, Chedora will pay a penalty of $472,369 to resolve the claims. As a result of EPA's action, the illegal disinfectants were removed from stores. This is a quote from Amy Miller, one of the heads of the EPA. Unregistered disinfectants can not only be ineffective, but can contain dangerous ingredients. Companies have a responsibility to protect their customers from illegally potentially harmful disinfectant products, and can do so by making sure they are registered with the EPA. Under FIFRA, that's the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, EPA regulates the sale and distribution of disinfectants to halt products that may be ineffective or harmful. So this goes all the way back to 2001, where things are being sold. And this looks like, to me, this is during the whole COVID-19 thing, where people were selling everything. You had distilleries that were usually selling alcohol and then selling disinfectants. I remember back at the beginning of this whole thing, I walk into a liquor store because, again, we're on shutdown and things are being escalated. So I say, you know what? Let me go over and grab a couple of bottles of wine, because I think all these stores might be shut down. I was wrong because the liquor stores never shut down. Anything with a vice seemed to be open in New York. So I go in there and I say to the guy behind the counter, I say, you see that? Those Everclear Spiritus, which is Polish potato alcohol, right? The Polish Everclear, and this one and that one. So they're probably all going to be out. They're going to be out. And when you know them, he was looking at me like I was, huh? Hey, what? And then about 4 days later, I go back there because everything was all the wine was sold out in Rockland County, it seemed like. I go in there and he said, yeah, you were right. I said, yeah, I know I was right. And if memory serves me right, the nation of Japan bought all the spiritus. No, that's like 90 proof, not 90 proof. That's 90% alcohol. You can light it. I mean, there are people who drink that straight. And I'm like, not a good thing. They wake up blind and stuff. Not a good thing. Not a good thing to drink that straight. You got to cut that. So that's what sounds. But it took them 4 years to figure this out. They sold this stuff on 53 different occasions, and I don't know. It's just one of those things. Now this was from November 26th. Here, let me get this up here. EPA fact check. EPA debunks false claims that agency recently approved forever chemical pesticides. The U.S. EPA Office of Chemical Safety and Pollution Prevention experts with decades of experience in pesticide evaluation today issued, and this is from November 26, a comprehensive fact check addressing dangerous misinformation circulating about EPA's recent pesticide approvals. Yesterday, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin corrected the record on the fake news from Democrats. Again, this fake news thing is, got into everything, and as I wish I thought of that back in 2003 when I was doing my master in graduate school, doing my master's project, because I was one of the first people to identify fake news and to write something on it. Me and I believe the other one was Bernard Goldberg. In an expose, Administrator Zeldin reaffirmed the EPA's unwavering commitment to rigorous science-based standards and full compliance with federal of the FIFRA, right? We just talked about it. The administrator made clear that protecting American families remains their top priority, ensuring that every approved pesticide undergoes thorough safety evaluation, poses no health risks when used as directed. So fact number one, it was actually the Biden EPA that officially ruled single fluorinated compounds are not PFAS or forever chemicals. In 2003, EPA's Office of Pollution Prevention and Toxics officially defined PFAS as, after conducting a comprehensive rulemaking process, as chemicals containing 2 or more fluorinated carbons. This deliberate exclusion of single fluorinated carbons was based on extensive scientific evidence and public input demonstrating that molecules with only one fluorinated carbon lack the persistence and bioaccumulation properties that are commonly associated with forever chemicals. The recent false claims that EPA approved forever chemicals, a forever chemical represents a fundamental misunderstanding of chemistry and toxicology. Fact number 2. No human health risks of concern were identified when used according to the label. Right? This is good here, this press release, because if you look right here, I'm going to highlight this. This tells you a lot about what the whole process is. So what does the assessment include? Comprehensive toxicity studies across multiple species and life stages, specific evaluation of children's safety and developmental effects, assessment of reproductive and chronic health impacts, environmental fate and exposure analysis. Fact number 3, extensively studied and then safer than alternatives. These modern pesticides underwent the same gold standard scientific evaluation required for all EPA pesticide registrations under FIFRA, including studies mandated by 40 CFR 158. The compounds represent significant safety improvements over older alternatives. Right? We've moved away from truly problematic chemicals like organochlorides, meaning DDT and dieldrin. that actually do persist and bioaccumulate. I tell you what, I've been on a couple of those cleanups over the years, and nasty, nasty, nasty. Fact number 4, historical precedent across multiple administrations, and dozens of pesticides containing single fluorinated carbons have been registered over the past several decades by both the Republican and Democratic administrations, and they list what those are. Fact number 5, consumer choice. For consumers who remain conservative despite the safety data, organic products remain available and popular. However, in the interest of full disclosure and full total transparency, it must also be noted, organic farming also relies on pesticides for crop protection. Some organic approved pesticides have higher toxicity profiles than modern synthetic alternatives, and organic does not mean pesticide-free. Fact number 6, why pesticides matter for food security. Pesticides serve critical functions in modern agriculture, protecting crops from devastating pests and diseases, ensuring affordable and abundant food supply that provides healthy and nutritious meals to all Americans, preventing crop losses that would increase food prices, reducing the need for additional farmland through improved yields, reducing soil erosion and loss of soil nutrients. The safety of single, we're going to come back to that point right here in a minute here, and again, they're accepted in several other countries, basically. The UK, Canada, EU, Brazil, Argentina, New Zealand, and South Korea. And they give you a link for that. Now, back in the day, you talk about the path not taken, and I've had a hell of a lot of thoughts as of late on the path not taken. The Congress on Racial Equality, headed by one of the big 4 civil rights groups, had invited me and my dad, back in 2008, roughly, to go to Africa as a delegation because they were promoting a book called Eco-Imperialism. I forget who wrote that, but really good read. And one of the primary theses of that book, Eco-Imperialism, let me pull this up. I'll give the guy a plug. If I was at my home studio, I would have had him. Paul Dries, and he used to write for a publication, some of you people may remember, called the American Environmentalist Newsletter. How do I know that? Because I was the one in charge of that. Eco-Imperialism, Green Power, and Black Death by Paul Dries. And what was this about? Basically, it was this is what the review. It's a message that needs to be spread far and wide. For a professor of plant genetics from Tuskegee University, this book is the first one I've seen that tells the truth and lays it on the line, from Patrick Moore. Greenpeace co-founder, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Eco-imperialism provides terrific intellectual ammunition and is outstandingly written. So it reveals a dark secret of the ideological environmental movement. The movement imposes the views of mostly wealthy, comfortable Americans and Europeans on mostly poor, desperate Africans, Asians, and Latin Americans. It violates these people's most basic human rights, denying them economic opportunities, chance to have better lives, and the right to rid their countries of diseases that were vanquished long ago in Europe and in the United States. All right? Now, so that's off of eBay here. I don't think they're going to mind me talking about a 15-year-old book. So what's my point here with this? They wanted me to go down there to discuss this, right, when this book was being written, because European, mainly UN agencies, were allegedly, and I have to say allegedly, not so much allegedly, promoting no modern pesticide use or effective pesticide use, and wanted to keep Africa, basically, we're going to do a huge experiment, and we're going to, rather than build up Africa, get people there, let's put them into make it into a utopia of some sort, some perverted utopia, where they didn't have enough food and basically show how we can be organic farmers and how all this stuff is evil and all this modern agriculture is evil, including pesticides. And looking back after what we just went through with the SNAP benefits during the government shutdown, this was an example of weaponizing food in a way. Get people to do what we want, and then we could go and coerce them to do things by withholding food or making their food less secure. And what also happened was now there was a market for European food, right? And for the farmers, of course, you can't forget the European farmers and the other farmers out there selling their stuff to a whole continent of Africa, and we're going to create a humanitarian crisis here and then further erode stability in the region. Don't believe me? Go look it up. And also go and there are programs out there now, I'm not going to promote them, that talk about issues going on in the southern half of Africa with specifically this. So weaponizing food, nothing new here. This is another way of doing that. That's my point here. And again, I don't know, you can eat whatever you want. Now this, like my intro says, we are not involved in things, at least not most of the time. EPA order will help Atlantic City Municipal Utilities Authority, ACMUA, for those of you who grew up in that area or went to college in that area, like me. U.S. EPA has issued an order directing the Atlantic City Municipalities Utilities Authority to comply with the Safe Drinking Water Act, lead and copper rule. A 2025 investigation by the EPA revealed violations of federal and state drinking water requirements, which include inadequate tap water sampling practices. So improper sampling with that. If you're going to sample for metals, there are certain ways that you could do this correctly. So, for example, if you're going to be sampling for metals in drinking water at the tap, meaning at the faucet, right? So there's my sink over there. You're supposed to let the water sit, and I know back in the day it was preferably 6 to 12 hours. I don't know what the standard is now. Pardon me, it's been a long time since I've done that type of sampling. But essentially, there are certain requirements. You're just going to go out there and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to go and sample, right? There's a lot of stuff that happens. So, for example, if you're going to be sampling for metals, what are you going to use? Typically, it's going to be a polypropylene container, lab clean, right? You get it from the laboratory, and it has nitric acid preservative on there. If memory serves right, it's 10 normal on there to preserve the sample. Maybe it was something like that. In this case, they have to update its lead and copper sampling plans and conduct 2 consecutive rounds of sampling in 2026, as well as improve monitoring and reporting. Now, a series of inquiries and inspections between 2025 and 2022 and 2025 found that the system has not met specific drinking water requirements, including failure to establish proper sampling and reporting practices under the Safe Drinking Water Act. In addition to requiring the Utilities Authority to update its sampling plans, the system is also required to follow up other stuff, right? And, they have a link to the lead and copper rule thing. I forgot to share this. So what is my point on this? My point is, got to keep after these folks. Strangely enough, Atlantic City back in the 90s, starting in 89, they had like the best water around. It was such good water, and it hit the news that us in the environmental studies department over at Stockton, every year, Dr. Claude Epstein, he would go, Professor Emeritus, he would actually have, and it was like a psychological experiment too. he would have everybody bring in samples of water, and he relied on the commuters for this. Hey, bring in samples of water, and we're going to have a water tasting contest here, and we're going to do like blind studies on which water tastes the best. And Atlantic City always won there. But what the other thing was that he said, doesn't matter where I give out beer or alcohol or anything. Not that he would ever do that. But the minute that you put up water, everybody's like drinking like it's a party here. Drinking water like it's a party. And just human behavior. So here we have another one. EPA issues a final rule to extend unrealistic binary compliance deadlines for oil and gas industry and saves hundreds of millions in cost. This is again from yesterday. Today, U.S. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin is taking final action on the agency's July 2025 interim final rule to extend several compliance deadlines in the Biden-Harris administration's Clean Air Act. Rules for the oil and gas industry, commonly known as Quadruple Zero BC. Wow. By providing more realistic timelines for owners and operators of new and modified oil and natural gas sources, the Trump EPA is taking an important step to unleashing Americans' domestic energy supply. The action will impact hundreds of thousands of oil and gas sources across the country and save $750 million over 11 years in compliance costs. Quote, and this is from Lee Zeldin, I guess. The previous administration used oil and gas standards as a weapon to shut down development and manufacturing in the United States. By finalizing compliance extensions, EPA is ensuring unrealistic regulations do not prevent America from unleashing energy dominance. We produce energy better and cleaner than so many other countries around the world, yet Americans have been punished by flawed ideologically driven regulations. It's like, aren't all regulations ideologically? Today, the Trump EPA is taking decisive corrective action. In July 2025, EPA issued an IFR extending compliance deadlines in the 2024 New Source Performance Standards and Emissions Guidelines for 000 BC. This IFR included extending the deadline to meet certain requirements related to control devices, equipment leaks, storage vessels, process controllers, and covered/closed vent systems for 18 months following publication of the IFR in the Federal Register. This remains unchanged in today's final rule. Also remaining unchanged are the 18-month extensions given to states to create plans for reducing methane emissions from existing oil and natural gas sources for the implementation of 2024's Super Emitter Program, which requires third parties using EPA-approved remote sensing technology to provide EPA with data on potential large leaks. So, gives you some more background on here, and so making things easier to comply with, saving money, I guess. I don't know. We would have to see see what this is. Now, this is from November 25th. This is an interesting one here. Lowe's Home Improvement Centers to pay $12.5 million penalty for lead-based paint violations during home renovations. Home Improvement Giant agrees to comprehensive nationwide program to ensure lead-safe practices. I guess this explains a lot of the commercials we've been seeing lately. Today, U.S. EPA and the U.S. Department of Justice announced a proposed nationwide settlement with Lowe's Home Centers, LLC, a subsidiary of Lowe's companies, to resolve alleged violations of EPA's lead, renovation, repair, and painting rule, RRP. The violations stem from renovation work performed by Lowe's contractors at hundreds of homes across the country, primarily between 2019 and 2021. And basically, you have to be licensed to do this type of work over a certain threshold. So, and there was a consent decree previously with this, right? So we're going to go to our first commercial break. I think I beat a dead horse here with this. Here. All right. And we're going to go right to commercial break.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces. OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
And let's go into some other news. This is from CDLLife.com. Driver reports facility to OSHA after 13-hour wait outside of Schiffer. A truck driver says he reported the Schiffer to OSHA after a 13-hour wait outside their facility during a recent run. Truck driver, I will mention his name, says that he arrived at a certain place in Waco, Texas at 9:16 a.m., but was not able to leave till 10:30 p.m. that evening. You know, that is part of my job sometimes, he said, stating that there was an entire line of trucks just waiting to get into the facility. I ran about 85 miles, that's including leaving here and going to find somewhere to sleep. Normally I can run 650 miles a day, so it's just an absolute day loss. Young says he filed a report to OSHA citing lack of bathroom access during the long wait. I don't know how that would work out on that here because he's not an employer there, not an employee, and they're not the employer, so I don't know what that would be. Yeah, how that would work out. Probably it wouldn't work out. You may get a letter from OSHA saying how many people work at your facility and therefore how many toilets do you have. Believe me, that's a real thing. I worked at a refinery that was like one of the main union issues for years, decades. Not enough toilets. The person also said the long wait cost them hundreds and lost mileage and opportunity to pick up another load. Now, the real danger for the employer here is this. They go there, right? OSHA shows up, and what happens? They show up and they find something else. So, what's my advice? Don't piss people off, is my advice. You don't know where it's going to go. So if you piss people off and you're not a nice person, and I don't know what the other context is. What did he tell them that you had to go to the bathroom? And can I use my bathroom? Or can I use the bathroom? Or or did he ask to use the bathroom? They say, well, go bleep yourself or crap your pants. I've had people say that already on the I hate to get graphic, but that's the way it is out there. With that, yet another driver has worked the facility several times, says that she doesn't believe the driver's claims. 2 or 3, I can see 13 hours. I think somebody probably pulling your leg, truck driver, another truck driver said. It's fairly new, so they're still young, getting used to things. You have to scale in and scale out, and with them just having one scale, I can see a wait time. So, again, piss people off, right? It's a classic. I'll use the vernacular here that everybody else does, FAFO, right, with that. Now, let's see, what next? So here's another one. And I don't understand. Now, this is a Cal OSHA thing. But this is from LA Downtown News. Protect LA workers. OSHA must update its outdated regulations. LA is known worldwide for its cultural influence and oceanfront lifestyle, but in industrial neighborhoods of LA, residents and workers face a more dangerous reality than smog or traffic emissions. Located from a short distance from downtown, a company releases ethylene oxide, a sterilizing gas used widely in the medical industry, which poses a serious threat to public health. This invisible and odorless chemical, classified by the EPA as a known human carcinogen, is drifting towards neighborhood communities in Vernon and beyond. Despite extensive scientific data, OSHA has not updated critical worker safety standards since 1984 for this chemical, without modern protection, going on and on and on. So, going here, what's their concern? Is it OSHA or is it the EPA? OSHA is about the workplace. The EPA is about the ambient environment all around us. And with that, again, is it a concern? Yeah, I think it is with that. But I think they're one to the wrong thing here. Now, are they concerned about what the people are being exposed to? Okay, that's one thing, about the environment itself and everything else, I don't know. It's a good question, and it's a good opener for the it's a good opening for a conversation. However, it's important, especially if you are the person writing this article, to make it a little bit more understandable. This sounds great if you're a non-professional. This sounds great, well-written article. But we're bouncing back and forth here, more of an activist type of thing, or a call to action type of thing, right? And as, you got to know what you're talking about here with this stuff and not go back and forth. EPA, ambient environment, OSHA, workplace. Are they related? Yes, absolutely. Should the ethylene oxide standard be tightened? The answer is absolutely yes. And let's go on to our next story here.
Taking a listen to Jim Bosel and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives into some information that you might be interested in.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Okay, sorry about the little hiccup there with that. Hey, it's the way we go. It's live radio. We're going to, it's kind of hard for me to even go into, what do we do next? What do we do next? What do we do next? I know something. No. So last night we were talking about that Oklahoma situation at the University of Oklahoma, where a student got a 0 on an assignment, and everyone's saying, "Well, this is professor. The professor did this. Professor did that." And then the assistant, the other professor, well, they agreed with the professor. And no, there's a freedom of speech issue with where they're talking about the Bible, blah, 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 and freedom of religion and all this other stuff. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to offend some of the listeners here. I don't see it that way with that. But it's context. What did the other students write there? With that assignment, whether it was for traditional morality or not, and what were the other things. And that's how you have to judge this, is what did everybody do, not one thing. Because I tell you what, I had a pretty rough time in terms of, with the teachers. And I went into it, especially in the very early days. Here you could go back and listen, where it's not a pity pot or anything, where I did not have the best teachers all the time. And I had one teacher in 10th grade, and I had him again in the 12th grade, an English teacher, Dr. Robert Nelson, took me aside and actually taught me and helped me, rather than just saying, you don't do it that way, you don't do it that way, you don't do it that way. well, no, Jim, this is what we need you to do. This is how you do it. This is why we do it. And this is what you're going to do. So which is a good teacher, right? Take you under the wing and work with you and everything else. And not a lot of people have had that situation here. And with the writing, right, based on my own experience as a adjunct professor, that was the official title, but in reality, I was more of a instructor, right, with that. And in reading the assignments from this level bachelor's degree, right, undergraduate level, writing could have been better on that. Now, do I think that the person observed a 0? Absolutely not, because they're making an attempt here with this. So, I don't know. With that, I will let the system work its way out here on that. And I tell you what, if I think that there's a problem with discrimination, if there's a problem with someone being being treated unfairly, or anything else, I'm going to be the first one to do it. I'm going to do it either way. If I think the right is being unfair, I'm going to call it out. The left being unfair, I'm going to call that out as well. With that, and call strikes and balls, as they say in baseball. And no, I've gotten some bad feedback. I really, I'm going to tell you the way it is. I think what we all need to do is respect each other with this, right? Getting back, there were teachers and professors that tried to indoctrinate you all over the place in their way of thinking. Some of them it was to get you to have a discussion and to argue back. Some of them it wasn't. It was, look, I'm right. I'm the professor. You're not. Therefore, I need to be there. I'm right. Well, not necessarily. Right, you have empirically right, so 2 + 2 = 4. Basic science and even advanced science is hardcore with that. However, as we know, some of the other subjects, not so much. That's what's going on. And I'm going to say any more, I'll be rambling, and I get accused of rambling sometimes. I don't see it, but with that. All right, now. What do we got here? Hold on. I got everything going on here. Let's exit out of this situation. And all right, now I'm going to do. All right, so there's this whole thing. And and again, I am about sharing information. And I had a little thing working with ChatGPT, and I double-checked everything. And so we have, unless you're living under a rock somewhere or you haven't watched the news, a situation going on in Venezuela with the USS Gerald R. Ford, the biggest aircraft carrier in the world, almost brand spanking new, and I believe it's around 13 other surface ships, as well as air support coming out of Puerto Rico that are going after Venezuela. Now, the argument is that there's a couple of different ways. There's what's official, what's the conspiracy theory here. So what's official is simple. Venezuela is supplying drugs to the United States, and they're getting to the United States via boat, and the U.S. Navy has been targeting the boats. All right? And with that. And there is a specific 2 terms used for this sort of thing, and I was thinking back, I said, look, didn't the second George Bush do this? Similar thing with terrorists in Afghanistan. And what about Obama and then Biden and then Trump and the first Trump administration, all that? I said, this sounds familiar, sounds like a pattern. So I did a little bit of research, threw some stuff into ChatGPT, I'll be honest with you, and some stuff into Google, and rattled my memory with some old sources and old tricks up my sleeve from my old political days. And basically, these cartels were declared terrorist organizations back in January. Several of them. They were talking about Mexico, but also some of the other cartels, like in Venezuela, were recently classified, as my understanding, as terrorists, or as with that. And what the idea is that we have close to some years over 100,000 people dying of drug overdoses in this country, plus all the other ancillary crimes that go along with this and collateral damage. And we're working with Mexico, as my understanding. We closed the southern border, working with China, negotiations with fentanyl coming in. That's where most of the deaths are. But there are also some deaths coming in from Venezuela and some other countries. So declaring them terrorists and anything. Now let's think about this. Under the second George Bush, George W. Bush, number 43, I believe is what they called him, right? 3W, right? Holding 3 in front of the camera. So they were finding themselves being ineffective in Afghanistan and Pakistan, fighting the Taliban and there after 9/11, right? And initially, the United States only conducted what was called a personality strike, meaning, and I'm going to share this my notes here, meaning that they targeted specific identified individuals, known terrorists. So a terrorist would be known, and they would target that. So around 2008, late in the Bush presidency, the CIA began experimenting with targeting based on patterns of behavior, right, rather than a confirmed identity. These early strikes in Pakistan's tribal regions were the first true what they call signature strikes. They were justified as a way to hit Taliban and al-Qaeda fighters who could not be individually identified. So under Bush, right, what were the key features? Highly classified, very limited in scope, considered experimental, and often conducted by the CIA rather than the military. Under Barack Obama, 2009 to 2016, they had formally adopted and expanded signature strikes. Why? The CIA argued that al-Qaeda and Taliban operatives often moved anonymously, and the AFPAC, right, Afghanistan-Pakistan surge, required a broader targeting flexibility, and drone technology and surveillance improved rapidly. So what were some of the changes? Obama authorized signature strikes where we focused on patterns of behavior in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, and allowed targeting based on pattern of life analysis. In other words, if you looked like a terrorist, if you're acting like a terrorist, if you were with terrorists, chances are you're going to be a terrorist. I know that's oversimplifying things. And they created a disposition matrix, a system for identifying threats with that. And it was, with that. No, if you take situational awareness training, it's gone into, at least a class I took. So increased drone strikes went from fewer than 50, again, it was the last year of Bush's presidency, to several hundred per year at the peak under Obama. So Obama did do the pattern of life analysis and did do signature strikes at a much greater frequency than Bush did. Now, why was there the change on this? Right? So the change came about because, hold on. The change came about for a couple of reasons. Obama, if you recall, again, this is all within our, all within our lifetime here, right? The Obama administration was risk averse to U.S. troop casualties and favored drones. Again, it was cheaper, lower risk alternative to ground combat. You're putting less lives in danger doing it this way. But it was controversial because they Who are we shooting? Who are we killing? Who are we blowing up? Don't know. You had collateral casualties, for example, civilians, non-combatants, everything else thrown in here, and there was a legal questions about due process. So, for example, if we recall, we had Johnny Taliban Walker, who was captured. Right, he was working with the Al-Qaeda in some capacity, allegedly. We don't know what the capacity was. And for what I remember when he was captured, is it captured, and I'm using air quotes here, from the Travel Network. They were filming a show. They came upon this guy here, and for whatever reason, he was in the camps over in Afghanistan, right? Got sentenced to prison, spent, I believe, 10, 20 years in prison, the whole 9 yards on that. So some of the other public controversies, collateral legal questions about due process. So you had American citizens that were sometimes included in here, whether they were aid workers or whether they were actually giving aid and comfort to the enemy, whatever it may be, right? So in the later Obama era, from 2013 to 2016, Obama imposed stricter rules, near certainty of no civilian casualties, and limited signature strikes through Yemen and Somalia, and increased transparency, but the program did not end. So now we go into the Trump administration, the first Trump administration. Now, under Trump, they loosened some of the Obama-era restrictions and allowed commanders more autonomy in doing this. So it went from someone way up high there authorizing this stuff, right, to someone on a lower level out in the field, meaning the person at the tip of the spear with this, and reduced the reporting requirements and expanded strikes in Somalia dramatically. With some of the president's comments recently, that gives you a little bit more insight, maybe. Under the Biden administration, and was from 2021, right, suspended signature strikes temporarily in 2021 for review, and reinstated a version of Obama-era restrictions and shifted many operations back to high-level approval only. Yet he still did it, right? It was part of the counterterrorism thing. Now, that was up to Biden, and now we have, are there signature strikes out there today? Yes. With that, I'm not going, I got some information. I don't want to go and release it now because, I don't want to put any lives at stake. However, the idea of signature strikes, this is not a new phenomenon here. With this, and now it's being applied to terrorist groups today in the Caribbean, rightly or wrongly. I'm not giving you an opinion here. I'm not defending one policy or another. I'm not in charge. But I want to go out there. Part of what this program is about is not to, is to teach you not to be manipulated, to look a little bit below the surface and what are they really saying? What are they really doing here? So, with that, that's what it comes down to. That's what my gig here is. I want people to be informed. I don't want people to be scared. I don't want people to be manipulated. I want to see some truth here, as I see it. And maybe, hey, you don't agree with me? Don't agree with me. Go ahead. Check it out here with that. So that's what I want to share with you folks here on the program. Now, what else do I have here? What else am I going to cover here? With that, and you know what? I think I'm probably the only person that covered that with this here. We'll find out because I tell you what, tomorrow, watch. So this will be on the news tomorrow, signature strikes. So we're getting ahead of it, so I'm going to edit this out, and I'm going to post it as a separate video here. So here we have some Department of Homeland Security updates. Let's talk about it. Yeah, we talk about it. So, DHS launches, this is from today, Operation Catahoula Crunch in New Orleans, targeting criminal illegal aliens released from jail back into American communities. DHS launches American Operation Catahoula Crunch in New Orleans, targeting criminal illegal aliens released from jail back into American communities. The Department DHS today launched a federal law enforcement operation with Operation Catahoula Crunch. It sounds like a cereal, right? In New Orleans, Louisiana, targeting criminal illegal aliens roaming free thanks to sanctuary policies that force local authorities to ignore ICE arrest detainers. And they released some of the alleged offenders here with their photos. I don't know if that's true, not true, whatever. With that, what else do we have here? Miles from nation's capital, ICE arrests on ISIS-K Afghan terrorists. I don't know what ISIS-K is. Sounds like a rap star here. Afghan terrorist who was released into U.S. under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome. This marks the third Afghan national terrorist arrested in recent days that were brought into the country by the Biden administration under Operation Allies Welcome. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem today announced U.S. Immigration and Customs and Enforcement Homeland Security Investigations, HSI agents, arrested Yancha Safi, an Afghan national who entered the United States under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome, who provided support to the Islamic State of Iraq and Syrian Khorasan, ISIS-K. He also provided weapons to his father, who was the commander of a militia group in Afghanistan. This terrorist was arrested in Waynesboro, Virginia. And it goes on to everything, right? Safi is allegedly an illegal alien terrorist who entered the U.S. on September 8, 2021, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, under the Operations Allies Welcome. He applied for a temporary protective status, but his application was terminated once Secretary Noem ended TPS for Afghans, right? And he was arrested here. So, again, an alleged terrorist arrested in the United States. A lot more, unfortunately, I fear. So that's what we have. That's our political stuff for tonight, and we threw in some history lesson there. So, for Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. We're going to move to our outro. And that's what we're gonna do. Because that's what we always do. So, good night, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.